welcome to a brand new season of Radio with Pictures with femLINK Pacific and FemTalk 89 FM, in conversation with diverse rural women leaders, LGBT and disability rights activists, young women coming from across Fiji. Today we're in conversation with Andi Vasulevu from Transcend Oceania, and she's also femLINK Pacific's convener for the whole of Vanuatu. Hi, Andi Vasu.
Hello, Sharon.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. We also have Sheleni Lata, who lives in Waituri, Nausori, and is a member of the Sheetal Sharda Mahila Mandal group. Yeah. How many members in your group?
There are only 9 members.
Nine members, all from Waituri.
Yeah.
And they spend a lot of time watching the weather, right? Particularly when there's a lot of heavy rain.
Because since we live in a low-lying area, so we are very concerned about the weather.
Okay. We also have Agu Tuinasau of the Pacific Rainbows Advocacy Network. Agu, you're based in Lautoka, but your membership is from other districts as well?
Yes. It is based in Lautoka, but we also include our members to Lautoka, Nandi, and Ba.
And how many members in total do you have registered now?
We have 80 registered members in our group.
And they come from what background, Agu?
Members consist of the members of the communities, which is a lesbian, gays, bisexual, and transgender, and not forgetting the sex workers.
Okay. Now, finally, Francis Tawake. Francis, you help femLINK Pacific bring together women leaders across the Central Division. How many women are you meeting on a monthly basis, and where are you meeting them?
I look after the Central Division, Nausori, Rewa, and Tailevu, inclusion of Nasinu and Navua. I look around 20 women leaders for every month.
Okay. And these women in the Central Division are able to tune in to 89 FM because of the coverage?
Yes. From their homes, they're able to tune into FemTalk 89 FM and listen to their own voices.
To their own voices. Okay. So let's talk about your leadership. And I'll start with you, Andi Vasu, because you're helping us reach women who are leading across Vanuatu. What are women doing? What are the kinds of groups that you're involved with?
I'm involved mainly with women, rural women, farmers, young mothers, women's groups, and mainly different community women's groups based in their villages and also across the sugarcane field. We have multiracial groups like in Nalemba and Vuniduidui, who lives in different blocks, and forming a group to work together, addressing issues of poverty and issues of land and women's equal participation. And we also have groups all across the 3 provinces of the north, the Convenor, Maduata, and in shaping their leadership, what we talk about more often is about decision making. That's what paved a way for a leader, as we are all decision makers as women, but the quality and the quantity of that. So how are we able to make decisions to pave the way forward for women and enhance development, contribute to development, and be able to move that when the structures and systems are not very effective. So by engaging these women, they are able to address these issues, especially in what they are facing on a day-to-day basis. So that for us is leadership. It's about enhancing that and enriching it, that women understand that at the beginning of this day and the end of today, the decision I make matters, and that's what will contribute to our development for each other.
Okay, so Sheleni, as Andi Vasu is saying, women like the members of your club are leading in their homes, in their communities. So the Sheetal Sharda Mahila Mandal in Nausori, what kind of activities do you do to help the community?
Actually, we go out and help the members of the community who are sickly. because we look at the DOM cases because they can't go to the hospitals. So we have a health worker in our community, and we volunteer and we go with the health worker to the houses, to the people who are badly sick and they are on the bed. So we go, if there's somebody has a cut, we do the dressing. And we make hair, let hair bath, and we wash their clothes, and sometimes we cook food for them.
So you're bringing health services into the homes of people who can't make it to the nearest health center or the hospital. What would be that distance that they can't travel? From Waituri, is it to the Nausori hospital or Wanimbakasi?
From Waituri to Nausori hospital, it is 25 kilometers. And if we hire a taxi, it's $4.
And a lot of these people probably can't afford even $4.
Yeah, because plenty of them are unemployment, and especially we look after the elderly people, because their children have been migrated, but they don't look after their parents.
Okay, so it's really leading in the community by providing services, by doing capacity development, and really putting a spotlight on what women want to say about development. Coming across to you, Agu, for the Pacific Rainbows Advocacy Network, your leadership is a little different, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it has started by almost doing a mapping of your community.
Yes, especially talking about the 3 centers. So some of the activities that we do is that we organize Talano sessions by visiting the different centers, and capacity building by organizing workshops and trainings funded by other NGOs or by the help of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, which we are also registered under. So some of the activities and workshops they organize, we also engage our members to attend.
Okay, Francis, very quickly, for the women in the Central Division from these 20 groups that you meet with every month, what kind of leadership roles are they taking? Very similar to what Andi Vasu and Sheleni and Agu have highlighted?
Yes, most of the women, they are part of the community health workers. They are nasi nikorals in their community, and some of them are in the village meetings and also advisory councillors. So from all of this, a lot of women are
doing different
activities and different engaging in different roles.
And what about young women? Are young women involved in the leadership? Or are you finding that more in the sort of rights-based civil society?
For young women, not most of the young women are involved in the leadership role in the rural communities, especially in Nausori. But when it comes to the civil society, we can find a lot of young women in there.
Fantastic. So we know that women are leading in the different communities, whether it's in the North, Central, or Western Division. After the break, we're going to ask the question, so what are the barriers to women's participation in formal decision-making? Stay with us. Welcome back to Radio with Pictures. We're talking to our real-life, everyday heroines, Andi Vasulevu, Francis Tawake, Sheleni Lata, and Agu Tuinasau. We heard before the break that women are leading in many different ways across the community, but we've also heard from the Permanent Secretary, Bainimarama himself, that when it came to the call for nominations for the Advisory Council, only 5% of nominations were by women. So we're either not nominating ourselves or we're not being nominated, we being the collective we. Agu, for your community, what's the biggest barrier to participate from your community organizing to formal decision making?
One of the biggest barriers in my community is stigma and discrimination. When people see a lesbian, a member of my community, the first thing that comes into them, the mindset, which is giving out stigma and discrimination against the members of my community. So that is one of the biggest barrier for the members of my community if they want to move forward.
Francis, you mentioned that, there are a lot of older women in the rural women's leadership, and maybe young women don't know about these opportunities. So what are these barriers? Is it intergenerational? Is it just not getting the information?
Sometimes it comes back to the culture that we have. In most cases, for women, we are told to be in the kitchen. And for a woman to voice their opinion, it is seen as a disrespect to the husband or to the community. And when it comes to young women's participation, there is still the gap when it comes to intergenerational learning and talano and dialogue between the two parties.
So between the older women and the younger women. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, it seems, to keep having these conversations so that women whether they're older or younger women, step into decision making?
They still need a lot of work to be done, and spaces to be given to young women, not only to take part, but to voice and participate actively in these spaces.
Okay. Sheleni, I'm just wondering, for a member of the Sheetal Sharda Mahila Mandal, there's 9 of you. You seem to be very busy at the community service level. What would it take to nominate or to support one woman from your Mahila Mandal to be nominated to a district advisory council position? How do we support women like you?
We create, first of all, we create awareness, because to be an advisory counselor, a person should be educated, and then he or she especially should be faithful. So it is very hard for us to choose, a person who we can nominate. But we have members in our community, in our club, who we can nominate to be a advisory counselor. But we don't have opportunity as such, because we are not aware when to nominate, when the application is open.
So apart from maybe advertising in the public media, should information be coming out to women's clubs?
Yeah.
And say this is the time to apply?
Yeah.
Or should it be on an ongoing basis?
If it is on ongoing basis, it will be much better.
Yeah. So Andi Vasu, you've been on the Northern Development Committee. You go across Vasulevu. Is the information getting to women to say, this is the time, these are the opportunities for you to be nominated, step up?
I don't think the information is coming out really clearly, because more recently, most of the women only found out much later that the advertisement, even for example, for the advisory councillor, has been closed when they want to put in applications. And looking at the pattern of women's participation, as we've talked about, the question about what motivates that behavioral pattern of women not confidently coming up and claiming that space or making themselves be involved in participation for women's leadership. And that questions the structure and the behavior of society in terms of how they support women in participation, because our experiences also shows that some of the women have applied, but they are waiting over a year. So just weighing and measuring this.
We're dealing with issues of stigma, discrimination. We're also dealing, as Francis said, where you're growing up in a society that you're being told you don't belong, or you should be only in a certain role. So how do we overcome this? What needs to get done structurally, if there's a commitment to women in decision making?
I really feel strongly that the commitment should be more focused on awareness on protection problem. Protection problem includes violence, which means the occurrences of physical and psychosocial support and psychological impacts and violence, and also the deprivation that causes neglect and this favoritism in selection, on all those kind of impacts. So just to understand that, and the question we should ask ourselves, what is my role to protect who? Everyone should be responsible. So what is that responsibility?
And when we talk about spaces, younger women, what do you mean by that space? Is it a space for capacity building? Is it a space for training? What is that space that's needed that's going to support young women to feel confident enough to say, yes, I'd like to be considered? Francis?
The space that is needed for young women, for them to come in and communicate and talk about the different activities that they are having, the support for the resources that they have. A lot of them have different skills, and these are skills that is useful and can be utilized. So for them to come in and showcase their talents, that space needs to be
bring
provided.
visibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the break, we're going to come back and hone in on women's recommendations, their demonstration of leadership at times of disaster, from preparedness to response, recovery, and resilience. Stay with us. Welcome back to Radio with Pictures, and let's get straight back into the conversation with our heroines in today's episode. It's disaster preparedness time. We know we have a lot of lessons learned from TC Winston. We're also producing this program, as part of our 16 Days of Activism campaign. So thinking about peace in the home, prevention of gender-based violence, and women's leadership roles. Agu, what's your recommendation in light of how women can be supported to lead as first responders and also assist in the prevention of violence?
My recommendation is to involve women in all disaster management, response programs, especially in evacuation centers, to also involve women, because women as first responders, they need to be included and involved in these programs.
Okay, Francis?
The support from the family, from the community is very much needed for a woman to stand up and communicate, and also to work with the community members. And one thing that the government can do is to work with the civil society organization that are working, or the women's group that are working with the women in order to prepare these women leaders.
What could that preparation look like? What have you learned, since TC Winston, that makes you more aware of disaster management and that you're having these conversations with these 20 women every month?
One thing that I've learned is when it comes to preparedness is very important. Before disaster, women need to know the accurate information when it comes to weather updates, and also when it comes to what to prepare, because most of them, they will prepare everything first. Their meals, everything is ready, then they will take care of themselves. So when it comes to engaging women, and so it is very important to support them.
Okay, thanks, Francis. Sheleni, obviously the members of the Sheetal Sharda Mahila Mandal, to me, you're just ready to be on the health cluster for the district of Nausori. How can we support women like you, and what's your message in terms of disaster preparedness, particularly as we think about, the need to prevent gender-based violence?
I think that women of all diversities should be included in decision making at all levels.
How do we support your members to engage better with the district officer or the Commissioner Central when it comes to disaster preparedness? Such as like if you're having flood alerts.
If we are having flood alerts, then the advisory councillor should contact us we have the SMS from various groups about the flood alert, and we always listen to the radio. Like at this time, we are listening to the radio for the flood alerts, and then we move around house to house, and we inform the members of the weather.
And are you part of any disaster planning committees?
No.
You're just doing it on your own. So maybe a first step is to get women like you and your club members into those disaster committees.
And that's how we communicate to the members, because we form a group. Since we live in a village, so we are the neighbors, we stay beside each another, so we can run from here and there and gather the women, and then we just give the information.
Right. So, Auntie Vasu, Francis has talked about, real involvement and the recognition of leadership. Sheleni's just demonstrated how women are the first responders in sharing information. But for you, from your vantage point across Vasulevu, what are some of the key lessons learned from Winston as we think about disaster preparedness and from a peace building perspective as well?
Thank you, Sharon. For me, it's more important to build on the capacity and awareness for community in general and society to understand the different power dynamics in community, and how these different powers, even including women and men and young women and children, how these different powers can contribute to protection and protection each other that would lead to better preparedness, and how men, including men and women, in working together in solidarity to contribute to educating each other towards education and informing and communicating about the different contributions that we can make to improve our society, and awareness to that because of the main priorities of gender, age, religion, ethnicity, and these are the structures that divide us.
So we need to keep working social structures, political structures, dismantle,
and use
reform.
those power in a positive way.
Positive way. Agu, I'm going to come back to you because, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, this year the global theme is shining a light on the issues of barriers, including violence, particularly in terms of education. And the theme is Together We Can End Gender-Based Violence in Education. For a lot of the LGBT community, they face the violence in schools, right? So what's your one key message for the 16 days that we need to understand about making sure education is safe?
My messages for the 16 days of activism is education is very important, and education starts from home. Parents needs to take a leadership role on that to educate the children on such issues such as violence at home, where the education starts before they go into schools, before they go out into the communities. So the key message is education starts from home.
And in the school, though, what's the responsibility of the school, particularly for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans people, children? For
school, yes, we can engage, include activities such as for programs such as for gender sensitizations for the schools. Not only in high school, but starting from the primary school level.
So we really need everybody to understand gender identities and how to treat everyone respectfully, equally and with respect from the home into the school. And then it stems out into the community. So that's our episode of Radio with Pictures for today. I want to thank Auntie Vasulevu, Sheleni Lata, Francis Tawake, and of course, Agu Tuinasau. Don't forget, you can continue to follow the conversation via our Twitter handle at femLINKpacific on our Facebook page, and of course, by tuning in to Fem Talk 89 FM. Until the next time, thanks for your company. Bye for now.